would you consider it infidelity if somebody just happened to keep a pretty drastic secret from you and didn't tell you until they were like years into the marriage?
Well, it depends what the secret is. Is it sleeping with somebody else?
Obviously not.
Oh, well,
I'm not talking about infidelity. I'm talking about keeping like a secret that...
No. Well, it depends what kind of, like, you know, what the situation was and what the secret is. That's not considered infidelity. I just would think that you weren't just, or the person was not ready to talk about whatever secret that is. What do you think?
Okay. For those people listening, tell them about the lady who told you about first off, about the sidewalk murderer, and then the one about the vampire, because those... Well, do the vampire last, because that one's honestly the awesomest thing ever.
What do you mean? How is that awesome?
That's awesome. That's like bath salt shit. Like... Oh,
well,
God.
Well, I don't know. I just had a customer, you know.
She's at work, mind you guys.
I'm at work at this point, you know, and, you know, I get all sorts of calls. As you all know, I work in a call center, so. And, you know, this nice lady calls that she needs 2 lines for 2 phones, and she wanted to unlock them, so, you know, she just wanted to come into Fido, and it kind of got me interested as per why. Not that I didn't want to give her service, it was just like interesting. So, you know, we started having a conversation, and she starts telling me that her husband, well, her ex-husband now, you know, it's paying for her phone, but she doesn't have access to, because her husband is with Rogers and whatnot. The husband left her for a younger woman, and he sold the house that they have bought together, and how, you know, their daughter passed away, and, you know, it started all sad how he wouldn't even let her go to the grave or some sort of like that situation. And it was started off as a very sad story. And then we just got into the conversation a little bit more, you know, how certain guys are a certain way and how most of them are fucked.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, I just said some of them. You're not.
Asshole. I'm a guy.
But you're not part of them. So.
How do you know? Okay.
Because I know. There's a work together for a reason. Anyway, so where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So we were just, you know, we got in this conversation of like how she never had any good luck with men, and, you know, she's like, I've been married twice and whatnot, and she gets a little bit more personal about after marrying that guy or whatnot. So she ended up marrying this guy that like was from London. Anyways, she's like, yeah, so, you know, after going through all this shit with my ex-husband, then I meet someone else, someone new. She goes and like gets married with him, like a year later, by the way.
Yeah.
So they get married and whatnot, so, you know, and she lives in, I think, I can't remember if she's in Ontario or she was in, but anyway, so she she was telling her husband, you know, at the time, you know, maybe we should move from here and start getting and let's get to a new life, and, you know, since you're from London, we should start somewhere there new. And so her ex-husband tells her, well, we can't move there. And, you know, the wife is like, what do you mean? Like, why not? Like, and then he kind of looks at her like, hey, so there's something I've never told you about. And she's like, okay. I mean, she was not expecting anything. She was just like, okay, maybe this guy's just like whatever, making excuses not to move, because, you know, maybe he liked that place a lot. So apparently he looks at her and tells her that he killed someone. He's like, well, I can't go back because I killed someone. So her reaction was like, what the actual fuck? What do you mean you killed someone? Like, it was self-defense, right? And he's like, no, it was a fight, you know. I just smashed this guy like on concrete or something, and like he died. So the police were looking for him and whatnot, and you know, and she's like, and you didn't think this shit was important to tell me before getting married? And you know, according to him, he was just like, well, I didn't think it'd be like, I don't know, I honestly, yeah, big deal, I guess, from his point of view. And you know, so she tells me how she slept on the bathroom that night because, you know, she was scared that this guy was gonna fucking murder her. I would be too, I'll be quite honest. Like, what the actual heck? It's like a total different person from who she thought she was marrying. That's messed up. Anyway, so, you know, this woman's like, yeah, so that happened. And she's like, yeah, you know, that happened and whatnot. She's like, I haven't, like, dated, like, she's talking about, like, years back. Like, we're talking about 07, like, 2007.
Wait, how long was she married to the dude when he told her about that?
The death thing?
Yeah.
They were only married for, like, a year.
Fuck me.
Yeah, so. That's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know how the heck I would have reacted, but I think I would have freaked out very badly. But, so, you know, she's like, yeah, you know, after that, like, she kept her time apart from, like, dating and whatnot. She just did herself because she has 2 jobs, and that's it. So, yeah, and then she went on Plenty of Fish, which, oh my gosh, I don't know why would you, to be honest.
Good OPOF.
Like, I did it once. I created an account, and I don't think my husband knows that, and now he's about to know this.
Nice.
There you go.
That's a really good way to let people in on our marriage. Fuck.
There you go.
Everyone's finding out with me. Are you crazy?
No. It was not nothing crazy. Like, I just opened a stupid account, and you know, like, I didn't even put my picture up, and then I had like a bunch of fucking creeps messaging me. So I, like, literally I was crying to my best friend on how, like, to delete the stupid page because we couldn't, and I could not get rid of it. Like, I had to delete the app, and I don't know, she helped me log in somewhere, and like, I don't know, I guess it was deleted. If not, it's still there. I don't know, it's the app, it's gone out of my phone. So anyways, so we were talking about that, and you know, this lady's like, yeah, you know, she's like, I don't know why I decided to freaking go on POF and whatnot. So she meets another guy. And, you know, this guy apparently had money and, like, flew her over to, I don't know where. Like, I can't remember. She said from one province to another. I'm sorry, I don't really pay attention to those details. So,
how much you care about your customers?
I mean, it doesn't matter where the guy flew her through. Like, this is where the stuff gets interesting. So she goes and meets up the guy. Like, you know, they're like, I don't know if his house or, like, hotel, I don't know. But what she did tell me is that he made her dinner and whatnot. So, meanwhile, they were having dinner. Apparently, this very rich and apparently not bad looking guy tells her that he's a vampire.
Just slips it right in.
Like, he's like, by the way, I'm a vampire. And she's like, what? Like, she actually stared at him, like, laughing. She's like, okay, like, you know, thinking this guy was joking. I mean, I think I would have laughed too. I would have been like, okay, that's funny. Ha ha ha. And this guy,
nervous laugh.
Yeah, exactly. And so this guy apparently was like, he's like, I'm dead serious. I'm a vampire. And she's like, okay, I believe you, I guess. By this time, she's like, what the fuck? So apparently he was like, yeah, but I'm not gonna, what is that? Suck your, like,
yeah, I'm not gonna suck your blood or whatever.
Whatever to you or your cats or anybody, right? And she's like, okay, that's good to know.
Cats? Do vampires do cats? I mean, do they, like...
I don't know, but she has 2 cats. I guess he was just trying to say, like, you'll be safe. Like, I won't do anything to you or anybody. So, yeah, and then the girl's like, okay, you know, that's fine. At this point, she's like, I'm, like, literally shitting on my pants sitting there.
Oh, I would be too.
And then, to top it off, he's like, yeah, I know you don't believe me, so let's call my friend who's a vampire, too.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, like, what kind of psychosis this guy has, I don't fucking know. So she's like, if you're really, like, don't feel like dating me or anything, like, she thought he was using that as an excuse to, like, get rid of her.
Yeah.
She's like, I can go home. Like, he's like, no, I really like you. I really want you. I really want to have, like, a nice life with you. And she was like, in her head, she was like, oh, fuck no. I'm not, right? And so she said that was the second time she slept in the bathroom. She's like, I slept in the bathroom twice because of fucking fucked up people that I meet. And since then, she stopped dating.
Fuck. How old is this lady?
I have no clue how old she is. I'll be quite honest with you.
You know what the problem is? The fact that our society is pretty overtamed.
What does that even mean? I'm sorry.
It's too calm. Like, everything is such a big deal to us. You know what I mean?
Like what?
For instance, some old guy getting ran over, getting killed and getting, like, flattened to death or whatever.
Oh my
by
God.
Like some gang member or something like that.
What?
That'd be a huge deal to us. All of a sudden, like, there's all these, forensics officers and all these fucking detectives trying to figure out who it was, why it was, when it was, what clothes were they wearing, what food was in their mouth, all this bunch of bullshit, and they pinpoint it until they find out who's behind it and all this bunch of bullshit or whatnot. Meanwhile, my grandpa got killed by a car that hit him and ran off.
Really?
Yeah, that's how my grandpa died.
I didn't know that. But mom's dad?
Yeah, my mom's dad. Well, the only one I met. Yeah, this was years ago. He was on his way to a bus stop to go take, one of his morning strolls that he always did, like an everyday thing. Like, there was nothing different about it. He was crossing the street, and this guy pulls around the corner and fucking runs him over, fucking just tossed him right to the curb, like, fucking broke who knows how many fucking bones, and I would imagine it was someone that must have been, like, gang related, or otherwise otherwise it probably would have been pursued a little bit. But I would imagine it must have been, like, someone related to someone that had some sort of power or whatever, because it never got traced down, and nobody ever picked it up. Nobody, like, it was just like it was a story left in the wind. And as much as it infuriates me to think that nothing was ever made of it, not there was no sort of justice served or whatever. Like, what really could I have done? Realistically, like, I'm not about to go to El Salvador and turn into Rambo and start hunting people down. You know what I mean? Like, first off, where would I start? And secondly, like, if the cops and the government are that dirty, like, that they themselves won't do anything, like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's how it is in El Salvador, though.
Yeah, that's how that society works.
That's how, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's how it works anywhere, pretty much. Just to be honest. Like, if you have money, maybe not here in Canada, really, but,
Maybe not in Canada. I would imagine in the States people are, like, dirty enough to...
Oh my God, yeah.
Pull that shit.
Oh,
That's no offense to anybody in the States, but I'm sure none of you are oblivious to it. That's the thing about the cultures, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure it had to have been some sort of a shock to you when you first came here from El Salvador. How old were you? Like 12?
12, yeah.
That was less than half your life ago.
Yeah.
So, what was that impact like?
It was a very huge change. I left the people that I was really close to, right? And those were my grandparents. And not only that, like, having to get into a different culture almost.
Yeah.
Coming here and, like, not knowing how to even say hi, like, it's having to learn a different language that besides from yours. Like, it was pretty drastic. I must say, it was I hated it the first few years. I honestly hated it.
Yeah.
I cried to go back. Like, I begged my parents to go back or take me back.
Right.
Like, I just couldn't. I really could not be here. Like, I would even dream about waking up in El Salvador, and then I would wake up here, and it's like, literally, I would cry about it. But I don't know. I guess you just get used to it, right? You have to, for survival reasons. If you're gonna stay here.
Right. I would imagine it was more of a shock to adjust to the customs.
Well, yeah.
Figuring out that people do pick up on say the clothing customs per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did you cope with all that?
What do you mean?
How did you realizing that like even kids in school like pick up on whether or not you're wearing branded stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty interesting that El Salvador is still a third world country.
Yeah.
You would think that a society that struggles very much with keeping up currency and keeping up with modern culture.
Well, it's different now, right? If you go, it's like everybody's wearing, like, even if it's not real,
Right.
They're wearing all this Michael Kors stuff and all this, like, crazy shit that I don't even get to wear here. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, but back
and that
then
mentality
it must have been something like I knew this one kid, right, in junior high that, new kid in school at the time, and fucking poor kid, someone went, "Hey buddy, where'd you get your shoes?" And he responded as honestly as he could, like anyone else would. He said he got them at Walmart and shit. And for the rest of the year, like, they never let him live it down. Like, it was always like a huge deal. Like, fucking Davey shops at Walmart. What a twat, you know what I mean? What a doink.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a culture shock at how much people.
Well, kids, first of all, because you're in elementary.
Well, I'm just saying in the regards that it's there's so many things that like to see a dude beating a woman in the middle of the street nowadays. People will fucking hunt that guy down and just beat him senseless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of we know to respect the opposite sex and to I don't know why abuse our heavier strength, you know what I mean, just because it's there. But then you think about countries like India where people are just like, meh. Well, this girl looked at me wrong. Let me slap the fear of the Lord into her,
Well, I mean, El Salvador has guys that abuse a woman every fucking day too, right?
Yeah.
Hence why a lot of girls don't want to be with Salvadorians. I don't know. For the longest time ever, I did not want to date a Latino at all.
And lo and behold, you got stuck with Alacran.
And long and behold, it had to even be Salvadorian. Let me tell you that. My mom would always bug me, like, learn how to cook, learn how to do this, because you're going to end up getting married with a Salvadorian. I was like, hell no.
Oh,
it's like
no.
anything but not a Salvadorian. And look at that. Well, especially, like, girls that grew up, like, they're born there or raised there half of their life.
Yeah.
You come here and, like, you have that mentality of, like, that's how some Salvadorians are, right? Some guys are. Like, they just beat up their woman and, they don't cook or whatever the heck, right? They just feel like they have that right to hit.
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
I don't really.
Like, I had this one cat who I used to live on Knight Street and 57th Ave for anybody who knows the Vancouver area more or less. I shared the basement suite with 3 other dudes. Basically, one of them, I'm not gonna mention cultures because it's irrelevant, but one of them was from Far East, and you know, he had disappeared for a couple months at one point, and you know, we saw him very, very seldomly, and didn't even really let himself be seen, but he would pop his head in just on rent day to like give the landlord his share of the rent, and would then take off and then not be seen. And this went on for about 2.5 months or some odd shit like that. And so one night, I'm getting ready to take off, but you know, he sat down in the kitchen, and you know, we're just having a beer and hanging out among me and the 2 other guys that were there. And then the one guy who had taken off, basically, you know, just casually, just as casual as anybody can be, you know, just in his mind, he had just taken a stroll in the park, and you know, it was nothing to him. So he comes in, just casually, he's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" and all this good stuff, and we're all just like, "Buddy, like, where the fuck you been? You've been gone for like all this time. Like, what the hell has been going on?" And here's where the story starts getting funny, but taking count is just the start, so bear with me. He's all like, "Well, I'm hanging out in my room one night, and I meet this chick on the internet. So you know things can't possibly go wrong, right?" So he goes, "I meet this chick on the internet, and we chat for about 2 hours, and then after 2 hours of chatting, we decide we're gonna get married." And so,
what the hell?
So he gets up the next morning and goes to meet her up, and he decides he's gonna move in with her, and because they're gonna get married and all this shit. So he was paying rent at our place, but he was living with her, you know, for free or what have you. I don't know the details of that. I, quite frankly, it's none of my business. But he's living with her, and this goes on for about 2 months. And so one day he decided he wasn't going to live there anymore, and he was going to dump her. So he just decides to get up one day and walk out the door. And she goes, "Where the fuck you going?" He goes, "I'm not gonna live here anymore because you're too unclean for me. You're kind of a pig. You're disgusting. You're not clean enough. So I'm out of here." And so his version of the story started like this. He said he was walking out of the house, and that she got mad and said that she was going to report him. I was like, "So you're gonna leave, break up with her, and she was going to report you?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's worried. He's asking, "Can she report me for that?" And we're all like, "No. Why would she report you just because you broke up with her?" He's like, "Yeah, that's what I thought." I'm like, "No, what the fuck? Why would she report you just because you left?" He's all like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, no, man. Take a breather, man. She's probably just trying to bluff you because she got mad that you left her or whatever." And so he's like, "Yeah, so I was just like, I had enough. She wasn't all that clean, and you know, I had enough. I just left, you know. And just before I walked out the door, I grabbed her by the hair and smashed her face into the drywall of the wall just beside her, you know, front door." We're all like, "What? What the fuck is that shit? Way to casually slip that in. Like, what the fuck, man?" He's all like, Oh, what? We're not supposed to do that?" He's
Casually.
Just casually, just like not even thinking about it twice. He's like, "Yeah, so I smashed her face into the wall."
Oh my god.
And just like slips it in like he's talking about skipping in the grass, you know, picking flowers and all that shit. "Yeah, you know, so I smashed her face right into the wall, and she had a nice little gash in her forehead." We're like, "Okay, dude, she can definitely report you for that. You're in deep shit."
So
if she
he
tells
like
somebody.
adds that after asking about getting
Oh yeah,
report.
just slipped it in, kind of like, "Oh, I stumbled on a little rock on my way here," you know, that type of deal, you know.
Yeah.
And so, it gets worse. So we start going off about this. One guy had a mom who was a lawyer, and she's like, "Buddy, you're gonna want to lawyer up." You know, he gets his mom on the phone. He's like, and he starts asking her all these questions about what he should be doing, all this stuff. He's like, "Yo, my mom says you should like not speak to anybody, not get yourself a lawyer, get yourself your documentation officer handy or whatever," because I guess he wasn't a citizen or whatever. And so the other guy was like, "Yo, does she have any brothers?" And the guy who's telling the story is he says, "Yeah, she's got like 4 brothers." He's like, "Okay, keep us on your speed dial. If you see her come over with her brothers, call us, because chances are we're gonna have to come home. We're gonna fight them off the property, get the landlord, get the cops involved, all this bunch of good stuff." Like, we're freaking out for him. Meanwhile, he's sitting there like leaning back on his chair with his arms crossed and like with a blank stare on his face, just like not even giving 2 shits about the world. You know what I mean? And we're like, "Buddy, and you're gonna want to do this and this and this and that." And I'm like, "Buddy, if you want, like, we can gather up some money. We'll buy you a ticket to Greyhound. You should probably like hop on that shit, like, like skip town for a little bit, just to like let the heat die down a little or whatever, and we'll all cover for you or whatnot." And he's just like sitting there. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, no, yeah, you're right, Like, not even like remotely sorry or worried or anything like that. and just as like one of the guys was giving him his last piece of like legal advice or whatever, he just looks up at everybody like as casual as all hell, and he goes, "You guys want some Doritos?" That was his big answer to everything.
That's so funny.
That was his
That's fucked up.
That was the punchline to everything. And this is all true, mind you. This is all completely true. At that point I just gave up. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take off here. This is pointless."
So crazy.
And so that tells you something about what's what's normal in this.
What's normal to some people.
What's normal to some people, and what should not be happening anywhere in Canada or North America for any reason, unless you're fucking covered by money or fucking, some important, powerful people have your back. So we went to a superstore just now. We're just on our little drive home, and so I seen this woman there, and I was totally being a creep, but it was it's okay, because so was my wife.
No, truth is, he was checking this woman out. He just doesn't like to admit, which is okay. I mean, as long as they're pretty, and I agree with the prettiness, he's allowed to check them out.
Okay, well, I totally just admitted I was being a creep, so there's no denial here. My perverted level was at about an 11 out of 10. So
no shame in men, no shame.
Well, would you prefer I'd be checking out men? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like Jerry Seinfeld says, everybody's sexual orientation is nobody's business but their own. Anyhow, so total MILF, mind you. She was there with her kid. She was
it was a baby too.
It was a baby. She was a baby also.
She was. She really was.
She was fine. She was, she was thin. She had, she was filled out in all the right places. I have no shame, because my wife totally agrees.
Yeah.
If anything, my wife's a little more perverted than I am in that regard.
But it's different. We admire other women. It's like we are allowed to admire each other.
I have no complaints there. You, by all means, do you. Just let me know, so I can share that thought. And so a thought really occurred to me when she was walking around with pushing her kid in the shopping cart there, and I was like, wow, she really was put together, you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't fancy or anything like that. Like, she wasn't overdoing it or anything, but you can tell she was well composed. She was pretty high class. She dressed like she cared. And then I was like, man, this lady's husband or boyfriend or whatever must really be a prestigious dude. He must really be well composed himself. Must have a nice fancy car. He must be really attractive. In order to have obtained a girl like that. Kind of like me. It's kind of a shock to me that my wife is as good looking as she is, because I'm fucking ass ugly myself. Like, my mouth is an asshole, basically. Like, it's stupid. So, long story short, I seen this lady turn around and say, "Oh, honey, look at the price on the apricots." And in comes this fucking ass ugly fucking, not even remotely trying to be impressive, fat man tit, just disgusting old bastard.
Okay, but I mean, who would he try to impress? He knows he has a very fucking gorgeous wife.
But here's what I'm getting at. Why would a woman that prestigious, who clearly shows that she cares about herself, not care about the appearance of who she's being associated with? The problem is, that's not the first time I seen that. Obviously the first thing that occurred into my mind was like, well, dude probably has money, so she doesn't even care as long as she has, she's obviously, even if she's not spending her own money, but she's spending somebody's money to look like that.
Yeah.
Because I could also see in her face that she's touched up on a few things.
So then it occurred to me to ask you a question.
Well, you've seen her too. And
we walked by, and that's how I know she had a baby, and I was like, oh wow.
Like, she was a MILF first and foremost.
Yes, she was very.
But she didn't have a DILF to go along with the entire package. In fact, I'm pretty sure the dude himself didn't have the entire package.
Oh my gosh. Ew. Don't want to know.
No.
But, so my question was, like, what was his opinion of, there's two things, and there's two ways that things work for some women. So it's either, you work side by side with your husband and still try to look good, and keep yourself good, but your husband still wants not that help, but how do you put that, like, equal, how would you say that?
Not fair income, but fair effort in income.
Yeah.
Like, where you're still pulling your weight, still you're trying to be fairly independent, such that you don't have to fully rely on
your husband,
on the husband. Or vice versa, because there's some pussy ass motherfuckers out there that are completely taken care of.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, actually. There's a lot of them that like to.
And you've known some fuckers like that, eh? You've been the caretaker.
I have been the caretaker, and there's a lot of them out there. Yeah. So, but then there's also the guys that rather themselves work their ass off and have their woman at their house, and to pay for them to look a fucking 10.
Meanwhile, homegirl's just a fucking gold digging, fucking couch slobbing, channel watching.
But then some girls are not like that, Some girls actually like.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's a matter of they don't work and they don't do any stuff at home. Meanwhile, they're spending homeboys' money and making sure that at least they look good. Which I'm not saying I agree with, but I get it.
Okay, so my question was, like, would you rather be the man that works your ass off and have your woman looking fucking amazing, so you can have to say, "This is my fucking wife," or would you rather have it equal?
How do I look? First off, like, not assuming, but hypothetically, if I was in the situation, either one of the situations you just mentioned, how do I look? First off,
what do you mean?
Okay. What if I was in the situation? Like, say that lady that we saw at the supermarket
Was with you?
was with me.
Oh, listen to this guy, having his like
in your
little.
mind, if I was in that scenario, would I look shit or would I be as composed as she was?
Well, obviously you'd be composed yourself.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure having a woman like that, you wouldn't be looking like shit yourself either. Why the fuck would you do that?
Not with my attitude, or
especially this guy who like has to dress like it's almost like. Holy shit, he has to look
hold
good.
Hold on, I'm not princess boy here.
But he has to look fucking well composed just to go to fucking superstore.
Well, I can't, buddy.
I can even go without makeup to fucking work, and this guy, it's like...
Well, that's because you're good looking. You don't have to wear makeup.
Aw, baby, you're so sweet, but... Anyways, you guys
I can't just be like waking out of bed with all this bunch of like fucked up half afro looking hair. You know, I can't be walking around with like pube head, you know.
Oh my god.
You know, like I can't have the bush upstairs looking like the bush downstairs. Like,
baby, no.
That's not what it means by drapes matching the carpet. Like, it doesn't work for guys that way.
Oh my god. Okay, now everybody knows about your pubes. Which there's none. But anyways, that's interesting.
Like, the heads aren't supposed to match here. Like,
baby,
point is, I gotta look good if I want, you know, if you want people to look at you and be like, why is she with that guy when she's that good looking and homeboy doesn't at least dress okay? Like, I have to match you somehow.
Yes.
Or at least look like I'm trying to.
Yeah.